Ask about this. I've played in the Palace a million times. Closing down the Palace. Let me hear your thoughts about it, man.
Man,
you played more games than anybody in the Palace. Were you aware of that?
Actually, no, I wasn't aware.
Right.
Of that,
I think it's 400 something. Yeah. So.
But
458 actually.
Me and Zeke, we actually talked about it, and you know, we just wish we could have had more representatives there. You know, we found out about it. I think I found out maybe a week before. He found out about 4 or 5 days before. Something of this magnitude, where you're closing something, we did something really special, and I think everybody should have been there. You know, Bad Boys, our team, and I just don't think everybody had a good enough notice. But aside from all that, some special memories in there. Had you know, some wonderful accomplishments, and you know, wasn't a better place to play in my book.
Right.
Well, I would say, you know, the Palace for us, you know, we were that first generation of innovators in the NBA.
Right.
We were the first team to get a plane. We were the first team to really get an arena and call it the Palace like this, the modern day arena. We were the first team to start playing with a third color in terms of the uniforms. We left the red, white, and blue and went to the silver and black. So everything that we was doing was about, you know, advancing the league and building our culture.
Progressively, right?
And, you know, what Tayshaun hit on, the historical, you know, factor of the Palace and what we stood for, it wasn't portrayed that night in terms of, you know, just the relevance of the building and what it stood for. And then going back downtown to Detroit, you know, to our roots, to our foundation, where everything started at, right? But the Palace on that night, you know, it was symbolic, but it could have been and it should have been much more. But for those of us who were there and had a chance to participate in it, it was a great moment. And I really enjoyed just the fans' appreciation, because after that night was over, I walked up to the concourse, right? And I just stood out there and did an autograph session.
Oh, that's dope.
And I wanted to thank the fans for what they gave us, because they inspired us to be much more than we ever could have become had we been in another city. I mean, that community really embraced us, and they took the Pistons and took it to another level.
Oh, wow, man. It's, you know, you like to say that the Palace was to me, one of the identities of Detroit basketball. And when you thought about Detroit basketball, you couldn't mention it without mentioning the Palace.
Yeah. And
it was a tough place to play. One of my least favorites to play in.
It's good to hear you say that.
You know? And I can remember countless battles of coming in there as a Timberwolf, coming in there obviously as a Celtic, and it being tough throughout or whatever team I was on. And although it is moving downtown to the roots of what Detroit, and that'll be its new chapter of starts, I'm going to always remember, just like I remember the Silver Dome days and being a fan of basketball and just watching. And I will always remember the Palace for what it stood for, and it being a representation of what that city is. And you guys not only making that or embarking that or making that the symbol, but making Bad Boy basketball and Detroit basketball be a culture. And it'll be looked at just like that for years to come, man. Thank y'all for sharing that. I appreciate it, man.
And I want to thank Chauncey and Tayshaun and his group, because when we hear Detroit basketball, I mean, they really stamped the culture.
They really brought that back. And
had they not won, you know, then we just kind of like everybody else. So, you know, you know, I hope history is kind enough to his team, because we got the videos, we got the uniforms and all that other stuff, but the team that really made Detroit what it is, right, is Tayshaun, Chauncey, you know, Benoit. That group stamped it.
They reinserted. They reinserted you guys in there. And whenever you win, you do that. You highlight any history with those teams, man.
I really appreciate that, man. Because we looked up to you guys, and you know, we really try to model ourselves the style of play that y'all had and incorporate it into what we did. And it was, you know, very, very appreciative of what you guys done for us. And I'm just glad we was able to reward the city with another championship.
That's
on
real.
top of that.
That's real, man. Shout to Detroit basketball. Shout to the Palace. Shout to Michigan. You know what it is. Memories will never be lost. That's what it is. Right?